Rain had always reminded Ethan of her. Even years later, whenever thunder rolled across the sky and water traced slow paths down his window, he would stop whatever he was doing and stare outside, as if somewhere in the storm he might catch a glimpse of her walking back to him. But some people only arrive in your life to teach you how deeply a heart can break. Ethan met Lily on a quiet autumn evening when the world looked dipped in gold. He was 23, working part-time at a small bookstore near the university while trying to build a life from dreams that always seemed slightly out of reach. She walked into the store just before closing, carrying the smell of fresh rain and jasmine. She stood in the poetry section for almost 20 minutes, running her fingers across the spines of books as though each held a secret. Ethan had watched her from behind the counter, pretending to organize receipts. Finally, she approached with a worn copy of The Sun Also Rises. "Do you believe love lasts forever?" she asked suddenly, placing the book on the counter. The question caught him off guard. He looked up and met her eyes, soft brown, curious, and impossibly sincere. "I think real love does," he said after a moment. She smiled, but there was sadness hidden behind it. "Then I hope I find it someday." That was how it began. A strange question. A quiet smile. A moment that changed everything. Her name was Lily Carter. She studied literature at the university nearby and spent most evenings reading in cafes or walking through the city alone. After that night, she started visiting the bookstore often. Sometimes she bought books. Sometimes she didn't. Sometimes she stayed for hours, sitting by the window reading while Ethan worked. And slowly, without either of them noticing exactly when it happened, they became inseparable. They talked about everything. Books, music, childhood memories, fears they had never spoken aloud. Lily told him she was afraid of being forgotten. Ethan told her he was afraid of never becoming enough. She laughed at his terrible jokes. He listened to her endless theories about tragic novels. On cold evenings, they would walk through empty streets sharing one coffee because neither of them wanted to admit they were broke. And somewhere between those ordinary moments, Ethan fell hopelessly in love. He knew it the night she dragged him onto the roof of her apartment building to watch a meteor shower. The city lights blurred below them like fallen stars. Lily sat beside him, knees pulled to her chest. "If you could wish for anything right now," she asked, staring at the sky, "what would it be?" Ethan looked at her. The moonlight caught in her hair, turning it silver. He wanted to say you. Instead, he smiled. "I'd wish this moment never ended." She turned to him, and for a second neither of them spoke. Then she leaned forward and kissed him. Softly, carefully, as if she was asking permission. And Ethan kissed her back like he had been waiting his whole life for that moment. That night, under falling stars, they became each other's universe. For 2 years, their love was the kind people write poems about. The kind that feels too beautiful to break. They built a life in fragments. Sunday mornings making pancakes in Ethan's tiny apartment. Late-night drives with no destination. Handwritten notes hidden in books. Inside jokes no one else understood. Lily had a habit of leaving voice messages whenever she missed him. Sometimes they were long and thoughtful. Sometimes just her whispering, "I love you," before hanging up. Ethan saved every single one. He thought they would last forever. He was wrong. The first crack appeared the day Lily received an offer to study abroad in London. It was her dream. A 1-year postgraduate program at one of the most prestigious universities in the world. When she told Ethan, her voice trembled. "I haven't accepted yet." He forced a smile. You have to. What about us? We'll make it work. But even as he said it, something inside him shifted. Distance changes people. Not all at once. Not dramatically. It happens quietly. In missed calls. Delayed replies. Conversations that grow shorter. Silences that stretch longer. At first, they tried. Every day they video called. They sent pictures, messages, voice notes. Ethan counted down the days until her return. But London changed Lily. Or maybe it simply revealed parts of her she had hidden before. She became busier. More distracted. When they spoke, she often seemed somewhere else. Her laughter no longer reached him through the screen. Sometimes she canceled their calls. Sometimes she forgot. Ethan told himself it was temporary. That love survives hard seasons. But deep down, he felt her slipping away. Then came Noah. A classmate, she said. He's helping me with my thesis. Hours later, she finally answered. You're overthinking, she said. Ethan wanted to believe her. So he did. Because love often makes fools of us. Months passed. The distance between them became unbearable. Their calls turned into arguments. Small misunderstandings became enormous fights. One night, after another painful conversation, Lily said the words Ethan had feared for months. Maybe we need space. The world seemed to stop. What? I'm confused, Ethan. About what? About us. He felt his throat tighten. Is this because of him? Silence. And silence is sometimes the cruelest answer. Lily. I don't know, she whispered. That was the beginning of the end. For weeks, Ethan barely slept. He sent messages she rarely answered. He replayed old voice notes just to hear her say she loved him. He told himself if he held on tightly enough, she wouldn't disappear. Then one cold December night she called. Her voice was shaking. Ethan, I can't do this anymore. He sat frozen on the edge of his bed. What are you saying? I'm sorry. No. Tears burned his eyes. Please don't do this. I've changed. We can fix this. I don't want to. Those 5 words shattered him. I don't want to. Not I can't. Not it's complicated. Simply the truth. She no longer wanted him. And there was nothing he could do. The call ended. And with it, the life he had imagined. Ethan spent weeks drowning. He stopped going to work. Ignored friends. Barely ate. His apartment became a graveyard of memories. Her books still on his shelf. Her sweater hanging on the chair. Photos he couldn't delete. Everything hurt. But heartbreak has a cruel way of keeping you alive long enough to feel every second of it. 3 months later, Lily returned to the city. Ethan learned through mutual friends. Part of him hoped she would come back. Knock on his door. Tell him she'd made a mistake. Instead, he saw her by accident at a cafe. She was sitting by the window, across from Noah, laughing. The same laugh that once belonged to him. Ethan stood outside in the rain, unable to move. Then she looked up. Their eyes met. For a moment, surprise flashed across her face. Then guilt. She stood quickly and came outside. Ethan. Hearing his name in her voice nearly broke him all over again. How long? He asked. She looked down. Since London. The truth hit harder than anything else. All those late replies. Cancelled calls. Cold silences. She had already chosen someone else. You lied. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't mean to hurt you. He laughed bitterly. That's exactly what you did. She reached for his hand. He stepped back. In that moment, he realized something devastating. The girl he loved was gone. Maybe she had been gone for a long time. "I waited for you," he whispered. Her face crumpled. But regret doesn't heal broken hearts. He turned and walked away. He never looked back. Years passed. Life moved forward because it had to. Ethan rebuilt himself slowly. He returned to the bookstore, started writing, published short stories, learned how to exist without checking his phone for her name. The pain dulled, but it never fully disappeared. Some loves leave scars too deep to fade. Then, 5 years later, on another rainy evening, he received a letter. Handwritten. No return address. But he recognized the handwriting instantly. Lily. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was a single page. "Ethan, if you're reading this, it means I finally found the courage to write what I should have said years ago. I was selfish. I was afraid. And I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me because I thought chasing something new would make me happier. It didn't. Noah and I ended things long ago. It was never real love, not the way what we had was real. I've spent years regretting what I did to you. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve another chance. I just needed you to know that losing you was the greatest mistake of my life. You once told me real love lasts forever. I didn't believe you then. I do now. And I'm sorry I realized it too late. Lily." Ethan read the letter 3 times. Then he folded it carefully and placed it in the drawer beside his bed. He didn't cry, didn't call, didn't write back, because some endings cannot be rewritten. A week later, he learned from an old friend that Lily had been diagnosed with a rare heart condition 2 years earlier. She had kept it private. She passed away 3 days after sending the letter. 29 years old. Gone before the world could offer her redemption. The news hit Ethan like a silent storm. For hours he sat alone, staring at nothing. He thought he had already grieved her years ago. But this was different. This was final. No more chance encounters. No more unanswered questions. No possibility of return. Just absence. Permanent and absolute. That night, he went to the roof of his apartment building. The same roof where they had watched meteors fall. The sky was clear, filled with stars. And for the first time in years, he allowed himself to remember not the betrayal, not the heartbreak, but the beginning. The bookstore. The question she asked. The kiss under moonlight. The way she once looked at him like he was her whole world. A shooting star streaked across the darkness. Ethan closed his eyes and whispered the words he never got to say. "I forgive you." The wind carried them into the night. Years later, Ethan's first novel became a bestseller. A heartbreaking love story about 2 people torn apart by timing, distance, and regret. He dedicated it simply. For Lily. The love that never returned, but never truly left. People often asked if the story was real. He always smiled and said, "The best stories usually are." And on rainy evenings, he still sat by his window listening to the storm. Not waiting for her anymore. Just remembering. Because some people become part of your soul even after they're gone. And some love stories don't end with reunion. They end with acceptance. With silence. With the painful understanding that love alone is not always enough. Ethan loved Lily with everything he had. And somewhere, perhaps in another life, she loved him too. But this life gave them different endings. And so she remained what she had always become destined to be. The love that never returned.